Here we go, the 75th country, Burkina Faso. During my visit to Burkina Faso, that was back in the end of 2017, so still at that time, China and Burkina Faso hasn't got any diplomatic relationship, because at that time, Burkina Faso shared a so-called diplomatic relationship with Taiwan, but nowadays things has been changed. So I entered into Burkina Faso from Mali overland. When I passed the immigration from the Burkina Faso site, I handed my passport to the immigration officer. He seems like taking a nap, and then he just saw my passport without checking. He just asked me where is my visa, but I just told him actually I got the visa free for entry Burkina Faso from the passport policy. And then he checked on his documents and he found out that was true. And actually I asked if I can take a photo about his document in French version, and he said no problem. So I just took a photo for a later departure reference. So the first night I made my way from the border to Ouagadougou, and I stayed in a guest house. And the first night I was already very tired and sleepy, but still I was trying to find myself a host on Couchsurfing. So I've sent out a request, and luckily the next day I got to reply. So actually I sent out for like 4 nights request, but my host is from Taiwan, a Taiwanese who was teaching Chinese in Ouagadougou. So he was new on Couchsurfing. I was actually his first guest. So he told me only 1 night, but I think okay, never mind, 1 night is fine. So I moved to his place for the second night during my time in Burkina Faso. And in my guest house, I also met 2 other travelers. One named John, who was from Canada. He is an elderly traveler, and Burkina Faso was his 100th country. He shared like the same problem with me. He loved traveling, but he always suffered from motion sickness. And he told me he had a collection of different airsick bags for around world airlines. That was really funny to hear that. And another guy, Daniel from Portugal, he was a piano teacher but also a passionate traveler. And Burkina Faso was his 135th country. And 3 of us, we were sharing and talking continually for like 3 or 4 hours. And Daniel introduced me to his local Burkina Faso friend, Gerard. Gerard is from Tivoli in Burkina Faso, and I will be heading to Tivoli later. So I exchanged the contact with Gerard, despite he didn't speak much English. After couchsurfing with my Taiwanese host for 1 night, I moved back to the guest house, and then still trying to find some other ways for the accommodation. And finally, I found one Chinese translator who came to Ouagadougou for work, and he decided to share like his hotel room with me in a Chinese hotel. So I stayed in the Chinese hotel for a couple of days, and after that, I made my way to Port Village. So when I arrived in the village, I just called Gerard, and he came to pick me up from Tivoli with his motor. And after that, we ate some fuel in the motor, and then Gerard asked me where I wanted to go. So I just said any budget accommodation option. But I still remember that Daniel told me during his time in Tivoli, he stayed in a guest house, and his phone was stolen by the owner. But luckily, he got it back with Gerard's help. So for safety concern, I didn't feel like to stay in guest house. And after that, I asked the Gerard where Daniel stayed after his phone has been stolen. And Gerard told me Daniel stayed with him. So I asked if I want to do the same. It's okay? And Gerard agreed. And I asked if he would charge me, and he said no, it's free. So I just followed Gerard. We arrived at his house. He lived with his family. There's a yard, and there's left and right hand side. I stay on the right hand side when entering the gate. A room just nearby the kitchen, and then Gerard and his family stay on the left hand side. So that night they put me up a mosquito net, and then there's of course no running water. So I slept roughly, and Gerard told me I need to rent a motor for seeing Tivoli, but I feel like Tivoli is quite small, there's no necessary. And the next day I tried to walk to the place I need to see for the painting house in Tivoli, and I met Gerard, and he told me I need a guide, and then I told him I wanted to try without a guide. But when I arrived at the gate of the painted house, I was being told the same, but I didn't feel like I wanted the guy who proposed it to me, so I just walked away. And then Gerard came, and he told me he's going to take me to see the painted house, but he took me somewhere else, which is like the copy version. So but still you need to pay like exactly the amount with the official one. So I just decided to go back to the officially painted house with Gerard, and then just let him be my guide, despite he won't be able to explain me the information in English. But anyway, we just returned. I bought the ticket for the gate, and then paid for the tour guide. And after that, there's one guy just followed us. I think he was there for the inspection. And different painted houses for different people, like for the elderly one, or the single person, or the married family. And both the door and the roof were super short. So when you enter the houses, you have to bend yourself. After that, I thanked Gerard, and then I took the minibus back to Ouagadougou. And the next day, I bought a ticket. Like the departure time is in the midnight to Niamey, Niger. I was being told, like Daniel told me, when he tried to apply the visa for Niger, and the people from the embassy told him just don't go out away from Niamey. And then on my guidebook, there's nothing information about Niger, because the guidebook will not suggest you to go to that country. But since I'm there and I got the visa free, and then I will feel regret if I'm not going. So I just bought the ticket. So the next day, after I checked out from the guest house, I waited at the reception. I needed to arrive at the bus station at like 3 a.m. So I woke up at like 2 a.m. something. And the security who's supposed to take me to the bus station, I was not there. So I just invited the reception to find me another security guy. Took me to the bus station with his motor. After I arrived, I just found there were so many people waiting on the bus station. There were like a waiting area, and then they even have a like morning call. I didn't know that. Otherwise, I should have came to the bus station one night before. And then you just like store your luggage, and then wait to be called your name, and then to get on the bus. And then when I departed from Burkina Faso, the officer just asked me where was my visa. I just showed them the document I saw when I first entered, provided by the immigration officer. And then they just told me, oh, you're Chinese, you need a visa. But I just told them, in China there's different kind of passport. There's Chinese mainland, Chinese Macau, and Chinese Hong Kong. So and after that, he seems like got what I was trying to say. So eventually I got to the departure shop, and then sometimes it just takes time to explain, and patience. Thank you very